Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at. Welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. My name is Joe Grumbine, and I'll be your host today. And today we have a very special guest all the way from Massachusetts. We have Susan Caddigan. Susan, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Joe, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's
And
a pleasure.
I need to let you know that I am actually California born.
Okay.
I'm
I
not too,
didn't I didn't realize that. I do notice that you don't have a big, heavy Massachusetts accent, so that could explain some of that.
yeah. My sister has the accent. My brother might have the accent, but no, I managed to maintain my dignity and keep my sort of universal English speaking instead of going local.
Well, yeah, us Californians, we don't have an accent. Everybody else does, so that works out really good for you, right?
It does, it does.
So, Susan, I have known you for, let's see, I met you through your sister, I believe, and it's probably been almost 10 years. I
Almost.
that I met you through other work, different reasons that we met, through some of the medicines that I work with, through I think your sister's court case that we were
Yeah.
supporting, the common thread of your working, doing hand healing work, um, and really then we'll probably touch into some of the issues that you've dealt with in your life regarding your health and how you dealt with it. And I'm really grateful because for most of the time that we knew each other, we didn't really spend a whole lot of time talking, and we had uh, things that we discussed and whatnot, but mostly we talked about what we didn't discuss, really. I mean, um, we live in this crazy world where you can do these things and you can't do those things, and you can talk about this if you have this degree, but you can't talk about that if you have this degree. And I just want to help people and bring a little clarity and knowledge and healing to the world. And I think you kind of share some of that. So why don't you share a little bit about what brings you to this show?
Joe, it's all about healing. And one of the reasons why I wasn't able to speak with you during those times I was healing was because I didn't have the ability because I had had um, extensive radiation for a stage 3 head and neck cancer. And it just blew me out of the water as well as my voice. I sounded, on a good day, I sounded like Marge from The Simpsons. On a bad day, I sounded like a duck. So basically,
Wow.
I couldn't get anything out, but I did manage to have what I consider some of the best medicine, which is the natural healing that you and Liz were able to introduce me to, which was truly a lifesaver, as well as a soul saver, because I had hit bottom. That was not my first battle. It was my third battle, and the first two were just, way back when in my 30s and my mid 30s, and it did include an experiment, a study drug. So let's just say I had been through the ringer, and to add chemotherapy and extensive radiation, which means it wasn't a zap, and then bye bye, we'll see you tomorrow. It was 20 minutes of being held down in a cage and having precise pulses through a number of areas that were uh, filled with cancer. And so,
Wow.
and so I did not blend any, at that point, I did not have any ability to have the natural meds. But as soon as I finished, I did not like the feeling of fentanyl. I did not like the feeling of any opiates. Morphine did not work. It was just devastating to me. It did nothing good for me. It did not relieve pain. It put me in a stupor. It put me on an imaginary cloud that wasn't very pleasant. It was more like a rain cloud. So I was very blessed to have met you and Liz and be introduced to the better healing, and it truly worked. I still amaze the doctors to this day because they see no scarring on my neck. They expected to see these gnarly knots and burns and stuff. And as soon as the skin healed over, I started to use your salves.
Nice.
And then as soon as I was able, I really wanted to get off the fentanyl.
Yeah.
I tried. It was over a year, and it was horrendous. I mean, we're talking horrendous. So I started to do the little bit of sort of microdosing this and this in combination because I did not want to turn off, my breathing.
Right.
So able to finally get off of that stuff. And it took a few months, but because of the medicine that I was able to get, the natural stuff, I was able to get off of that crazy train. It was just incredible. I started to just come back to life, and heal. So
I'd
I'm
like
very
to get into a couple of things because I know, and one of the things that is brutal, I don't think people get it unless they've been through it. And that's why, anytime you feel like I'm stepping where it's not comfortable, just let me know. But I think that, when people talk about cancer, people don't even want to say the word, they talk about the C word and they talk about, Aunt Susie was sick or whatever. People don't want to say it. And yet it's so damn prevalent in today's world. It's like I don't know if anybody knows anybody who hasn't dealt with it on some level, even animals. I mean, when I was a kid, maybe a couple of people you ever heard of ever having it, and now today it's like I don't know anybody who hasn't dealt with it on some level or at least doesn't know somebody. And there isn't one experience that comes from that. And some people have very treatable forms and they're able to get a thing cut out and it never comes back. That's not generally what happens, though. And generally when people do deal with cancer, I mean, people don't realize that cancer is your own body attacking itself. And that's the hardest thing, because when you are killing the cancer, you're actually killing a bit of yourself.
oh,
And it's crazy because your own body knows how to fight itself, in ways that these drugs don't. The doctors don't know what they're doing, even though they say they do and they've been trained, but they don't. They're guessing because they don't know you and your situation. And all they can do is look at and compare it to something else they've seen and go off of things. So I'm hoping that you can sort of share this experience with us in a sense of, because I think I want people to realize like your situation in some ways is extremely unique to you, and in other ways is very common in the sense of like you went through all the traditional solutions that the doctors offered you. And did you do chemo and radiation or just one or the other?
yeah. I had no choice. It was stage 4. I was loaded. They just didn't want it to get down lower than my clavicles. So they were able to stop it. But the residual effects, it took like almost 10 years to get over them. It's
Yeah.
just like that the hearing is busted, and on the neuropathy, it's just pain that's just throbbing and searing. It's still there. But what I love about the natural medicine is that yes, we acknowledge it's there, but it never gets right up to my brain or to my heart or to my soul. It's a nuisance and it's being taken care of. It's been insulated, it's been
Right.
and it's just all my nerves just feel so, they just feel like they're cared for instead of left to scream, and that's what I love about this stuff. It's just it really does heal. So I'm on board. I'm here to just be able to say whatever you need. It's
Well,
how,
so
how
let's talk about a little bit about some of the, I know when you talk about natural medicine, I know you're talking about a lot of different things, and you come to us as a hands-on healer, so you know about the human body physiology, you know about pain from an education point of view, a personal experience, and then of course your clients that come to you for treatment tell you all about it.
yeah.
So what sorts of, I know diet and mindset and plant medicine and all different sorts of things we consider to be natural medicine, even meditation practices and visualization, all kinds of things. So tell us maybe a little bit about the road that you traveled on your natural course.
Well, I still maintained a little bit of a connection with the hold on, Joe. I'm just trying to think of words. Sometimes I'll lose my words.
It's all right.
I I I try to respect myself and the world around us. So when I did the natural medicine, it's more like let's do better care. Let's eat better. It
Mm,
starts from what goes within us.
right.
Let's something that's pure, that's simple, that's not a combination of carbs, fat, protein, and it's just a mishmash that our digestion is completely confused. We just try to separate things, enjoy them, chew them well, swallow it, do all the good things, have some warm water or miso soup after. um, we just try to go, I guess it's like old school, the way it was when things were simpler and less processed. But to me, being able to have the cannabis has been a world of help to be
Hmm.
able to have fresh vegetables, and just a good quality, something that's not been saturated in fungicides and this cheap fertilizer and all this stuff. It just degrades everything. It's just a good looking plant. But you need something that's got its whole um whole nutrient panel. It can't just be, let's go out and drink this shake because we're gonna be well. But no, you need to wake up, see the sun. You need to, breathe the air. You need to ground yourself. So I practice these things because this is it. I was on a runaway train at one point. When you're getting treated for an illness, you're basically on a runaway train. You're going to have to find the engineer in yourself to jump back into the driver's seat, the pilot seat, and slow it down and get it going where it's just chugging along nicely. We don't need to go anywhere fast. Just try to take a moment to appreciate what you have. Try to take a moment to, have a beautiful sweet potato with butter and salt. It's not going to kill you, but it's gonna feed your soul as well. You got to have a little pleasure with it. Um,
So
and
what
and to
about something like sugar, where, cancer is a
uh,
notorious consumer of sugar, and yet sugar's the drug that everybody is addicted to, like it or not, from being a 6-month-old kid, you discover the joys of sugar. And I know a lot of people, like in your case, I'm grateful for Western medicine, because I don't know if by the time you found out what you had, if a natural solution would have been aggressive enough to turn it back quickly enough. Most people, I find, when they find out that they've got cancer, they find it at stage 1 or 2, and then they have choices, lots of choices. But the more progressed a disease is, the fewer choices you have that are going to give you the chance of a radical turnaround. So for my understanding and experience of this, I think that the Western medicine's general purpose answer should be the nuclear bomb, should be only if, like, you have no other choices, then
Right.
drop the bomb and hope ever somebody survives.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree with that. And unfortunately, my first two were like that. I basically woke up already on chemo. It was that bad. I was 99% saturated, and it was
Wow.
an aggressive acute leukemia that they considered was a heart attack of leukemias. The only good thing about this was the one that didn't need a bone marrow transplant. You didn't need to be irradiated. You didn't need to be blasted with chemo. You can have a drug called all transretinoic acid, which was a high dose vitamin A therapy.
Wow.
Nothing pleasant about it though, because the
Yeah.
massive amount they gave you pushed you to your limits. Your
Right.
skin would heal, your migraines would be unbearable, and I always found a way around it. But I'll tell you, it was a battle. And at that point, um, the oddest thing about it was I was in the hospital and they allowed me to eat anything I wanted. A bag
Really?
of brownies, cookies. I'm like, hold on a second. Maybe
Yeah.
if they already knew that I'd be on chemo, so they'd continuously have to kill the cancer cells. Okay,
Right.
last battle, Joe.
Yeah.
I have sugar. Sugar was not pleasant. So luckily, um, well, luckily, unluckily, and I know this because I was a pastry chef.
Oh, wow.
Sugar and butter were my magic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But when I was doing treatment and out of it, I had no taste buds. The only taste bud, none, no taste buds. I
Wow.
could sugar, nothing. The only thing I could taste that had that had an iota of sweetness was honey.
Huh.
Yeah, that was it. Salt, but I really didn't like too much salt, so that was my flavor though. And so I was lucky that until this year, I did not have any desire for sugar.
Oh, good.
I think that intuitively my body was, expelling it, pushing it back, even though I still like my chocolates,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm a cookie maker and I make some really good cakes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Everything, everything in, you know, what's the word? Everything in the right amounts. Don't
Yeah,
go over.
moderation is a good key. And I think if you understand what you're doing and you may choose to have an indulgence that might have a side effect, it's like somebody having a drink that generally doesn't, it's not going to kill you if you know what you're doing. You choose to have one if you're not a crazy addict that's going to flip back into a relapse. And I think sugar's kind of like that. It's if you're aware of the harm it does and you generally avoid it, then once in a while, it's your treat. But you
But you know,
talk about a lot
sorry.
of different. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of these bubbles coming up. I just wanted to say that there are those who I'm not I've been requested not to have these sweets in the house because there is a person here who cannot resist sugar.
Yeah,
Once they start, they cannot stop. And it's my fault.
yeah, of course.
I have limited a lot of these things because it does tend to alter some personality. It
It does.
does alter the mood. And if
Yeah.
it does that, then it's altering your health because it just gives the body some more shit to process. Pardon my French, but it gives it a little bit more.
Well,
Um,
it does a lot of things. So, the thing that people don't necessarily realize is your body's this giant chemistry set. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of chemical reactions going on in your body every second, all the time. And so every time you eat something or don't eat something, it's affecting all your cells and everything they're doing. And so when you have a very reactive substance like sugar and you introduce it into a very complex chemistry, it's going to do a lot of things. And in sugar's case, unless you're an athlete and you're burning huge amounts of energy, generally most of them aren't your friend. And yet it's the rudimentary source of food that your brain and your body needs. So, you have this sort of conundrum going around, and that's where you get into kind of wisdom and common sense. And, that's one of the reasons that I know, believe it or not, we're already almost out of time, and I knew it was going to happen. But your wealth of experience in all of these things, I think, is a great asset to share with the listeners here. And as we're building this community, I think it's important to hear, because people feel alone, in their experience, right? They go, oh, nobody knows what I'm going through. And you probably felt that. And for all intents and purposes, it's true. Nobody knows what you're experiencing with your experience. And yet you can take your experience and share it with a lot of people who don't know it exactly, but maybe know it somewhat enough to say, oh, wow, it worked for her. Maybe it can work for me.
And Joe, because I'm willing to share, and I really truly need to share this, because it was a lot of strife, it was a lot of struggle, it was a battle. But if it could help somebody along their way, if it could point them in a direction where they don't feel alone, where they can eat better, where they could find themselves, each day putting one foot in front of the other, just getting by, going through the course, then I'm grateful for you letting me have the voice to help others. In my training is to be a body worker. I do more medical things for scar tissue because I am riddled with scars from portacats, Hickmans, bone marrow biopsies. So I know the feeling of fascia being stuck and broken and scar tissue not letting go. And I know the hindrance that it can give us. And that's when people reach for the pain meds. But it's like, hold on. If you can find the source, that pain in your arm, we can take care of it. We can find a natural way to deactivate that knot. We can lengthen, we can find ways to give you comfort so you can focus on more healing instead of getting into a dark place where this pain just doesn't stop.
I like that word, comfort. That's a great word. I don't very often hear that word being said.
We need it. We all need
it.
And because I'm open about this, I have many people who have battled, who are battling cancers, who are doing surgeries, who are trying to prevent surgeries, which is where I come into play a lot.
Right.
Is if we can get those knees, okay, we can get that, that scoliosis. We can, this is deep stuff that other doctors, that my children's doctors have told me, whatever you're doing, please keep doing it, because I was able to reverse scoliosis on a child, and the same with the other stuff, Joe.
Well, what's so funny? You just said a phrase that I've heard over and over and over again, because us crazy plant people, we're not medical physicians, we're not doctors, we're not trained. We don't get to even say medicine because FDA doesn't acknowledge our existence. And most doctors wag their little fingers at us and look down their glasses down at us, and everybody knows more than us. And yet, believe it or not, I don't know how many times in the last 35 years I've had people tell me, yeah, my doctor said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, keep doing it. And I think to myself, yeah, whatever it is, And the doctor doesn't even ask. He doesn't even consider that somebody else might have an answer. He just recognizes what he sees and can't deny, and says, well, you're outside of my scope of, huge amounts of training and learning. So whatever it is you're doing, just go do it. And I get blown away by that in a negative and a positive way. And I think we're just about out of time. And I want to really use this episode as a door to open up, because you obviously have a wealth of stories and experience I want to tap into. And I don't think we've even touched the title yet. So
I'm delighted, Joe. I'm delighted. Everything you just said is exactly what I'm experiencing with doctors. And I've been put into a survivors group where they monitor, the damage done through the chemos and the radiation. They monitor, but it's a group of us, not just me.
Right.
And when they me and they say, what in the world? How come you do it? What's going on here? And I explain.
Yeah.
I tell them what I'm using. I tell them the salves. I tell
Yeah.
them the medicines I make with with the oils, and
Uh-huh.
how I'm not overdoing it, but how I'm healing.
Hmm.
They want to know more, and
Yeah.
they're curious now. Now they're opening their eyes and their ears and their minds.
Right.
Although we have that other step in acceptance because
Right.
they're allowed, that wasn't taught in school.
Yeah.
But now sitting and listening and opening their minds to more. What can we do to be? It's the comfort level again. How do we get this? Because we need to go beyond. Well, how do we make this better? Well, we also need to provide, you know
Well,
beyond.
there's multiple layers of the concept of better. So physiologically, we have reconstruction, we have removing a disease, pathogens, tumors, all the things that don't belong, taking those things out. The body has its own way of putting itself back together. So there's better physiologically. However, I think more of better has to do with our experience. And,
Yeah,
you know, if if it's going to kill you or not, maybe that doesn't matter as much as your quality of life during the process, right? I
yeah,
mean, I might
absolutely.
live for an extra 2 months, but I'm suffering unimaginably. All I want to do is die. Or I only live 3 more weeks, but my God, it was a good 3 weeks. Which would you choose, you know?
Exactly. I choose cloud nine. I choose comfort. I
Yeah,
choose to go out my way
right.
instead of eaten alive by big pharma. No offense, big pharma, but come on now.
There's a time and a place for everything, but certainly not everywhere all the time.
Here, but we don't want them on our backs. But I think that because we've walked the walk, and we were able to reflect the goodness that we've discovered through natural healing, through
Right.
the ways of the flower healing, and just respecting life, and just slowing down. It's important. And so I am just very happy to be able to share whatever I can, and hopefully this will be a light in someone else's dark times, because I've had my lights, I've had my guides. Joe, you and Liz are one of them, or two of them, I should say. I know you're one, but you know what I mean.
A little
That
bit of both, yeah.
you've been lights in the darkest times of people's lives, and I'd like to be one. I'd like to help
You
guide.
certainly are. Well, listen, this is a time where I like to give, you are clearly providing a service to people in the area that you're at. And I think that it's important that if somebody needs to get a hold of you, that's part of what this show's about. That says, oh, well, I need to reach that person. Like if somebody's listening to you and they connect with your experience and need to get a hold of you, I try to put a little spot at the end of the show, and in your bio we'll have a connection where somebody can reach out to you the way that you want it to be. So how would somebody get a hold of you if they wanted to?
Well, I think that if you really know them and you trust them, they can have my phone number for
Okay,
those crucial needs. They can have that. That's okay.
I can be your
Texting,
filter. Yeah.
yep, texting is important because I really like to text, because I can go over what I'm saying and then go, wait, I need to clarify this, instead
Yeah.
of dangling half a sentence and then like, oh, wait a second, what was I?
Yeah.
I can, so texting is okay, messaging is okay.
Okay.
They can a letter, whatever way they need, it's
All right.
okay. I'm here, I'm here on the East Coast.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you, Joe, I got to let you know this. In my practice, I use your products, because every time I've used these products, Joe, I get the most amazing response. What was that? Or what is that? And oh my God. And then they go home and they say, I don't know what you did, Susan. I'm like, oh. But I do believe that I just put them on cloud nine or showed them the way, and I make it available at my cost, because it's all about giving people a platform to step onto and you know and feel that comfort, feel the care. And you can't feel it if you're always struggling to afford it. So this is where I come in to be that person to, it's not about the money, it's about how we can help each other. And that's what I do now. Of course, my office there's
Well, of course.
all your donations, but we do need to make sure that they feel this, because there's nothing like it. You know, I've had it for almost 10 years.
Right.
I've had other, I've tried them. There are a few others that, yes, I like them for a cosmetic and for a comfort level, but for a
Yeah.
deep healing, for a path forward, I do love Willow Creek Springs, and this is nothing you prodded me on. This is the importance to me is that's the sharing, that this is tried and true by someone who's deeply been affected by, you know, scar tissue, pain, cancer, injuries, frozen shoulders, you name it. I'm active, you know, and I was an athlete as well. So I just know that someone else is going to have a better time at it. If we could find them, if they could find us, we could connect them. And thank you for doing this. Thank
Oh,
you.
you
And
bet. Well, that's what the healthy living community is really all about, and that's what we're here to do. I appreciate you being a part of it. And this has been the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. And Susan Caddigan, I am so tickled you joined us, and I can't wait to have you join us again. We'll see you next time, folks.
thank you. Thank you, guys.